We're back at the Young Turks of the DNC, Cenk, Uygur, and Kasparian, and Rudy. Sean Astin joins us, of course, Rudy fame, Lord of the Rings fame, and about 1 billion other movies.
Billion?
Yeah, about.
Just shy of a billion.
Yeah. So, Sean, what brings you?
Why wouldn't I want to be on a show with you guys? Are you kidding me?
No, the DNC.
I got it. Why am I at the DNC? I've been a proud, lifelong Democrat. So that's, I guess it's the first convention I've ever been to, which is kind of shocking, actually, given how much campaigning that I've done for candidates, presidential candidates, congressional candidates, Senate candidates. Yeah, I actually decided, so I'm a national surrogate for Kamala Harris for president. And that kind of, I think it was inevitable, or at least it was inevitable that I would offer myself up in that way. But because of being on the national board of my union, SAG-AFTRA, and I was on the negotiating committee, and we had our big strike last year. And that was really, really an amazing moment in the labor movement in America. I mean, it was so visible, and everywhere I've gone since then, people are just like, really plugged into it. But it's amazing what happens whenever you get involved. You're there 10 seconds, and next you know, you're talking to somebody else you have something in common with, and then you find some other way that you can be helpful here, and then you need something from somebody over there. So I was in Wales a week ago and getting ready to go home from London, and I called my wife and said, I'm going to Chicago. She goes, you what? I said, I'm not going to come to LA with my wife and kids, right? I go, I'm going to Chicago. I'm going to campaign. The campaign wasn't really ready for me to do anything yet. They were like, well, we're going to look at stuff for the kickoff. They have a lot on their plate, as you'd imagine, right before the convention. And I said, well, can I just do like my own thing? And they said, yeah, spread your message far and wide. So I flew to Chicago. I rented a car. I actually doodled this. Wait, let's see if I can show the camera. You can't read that doodle, but it's basically a third grader sketch of the United States. And it says, why Astin for Harris road trip? I named it a road trip. I gave it a road trip, and I says, on election night 2024, I want to know that I touched the face of history. And so I did that somewhere over Iceland. I was texting with some political friends, and they're like, well, can we help? I said, yeah, do you know where any of the offices are located? Because I'm going to go to Indiana, Michigan. I'm going to go down to Ohio. I want to do 4 office stops, campaign office stops, a state a day. And they just started they basically advanced each little trip that I did. And it was amazing. It was amazing to meet with the volunteers, to meet with the staff there, to see the training that's going on, knock on some doors, make some phone, just the kind of normal drill that you do if you do this stuff. And somewhere in there, it's like, can you get, I don't know if it's a surprise or not. Do you think it's a secret what I'm about to do?
I don't think so. Go ahead.
I trust him completely. There's a roll call vote happening, and I may or may not be able to do the roll call.
That's super neat.
From one of the states. You be the guest.
Hey, don't scroll away. Come back. Because before the video continues, we just want to urge you to lend your support to TYT. You power our honest reporting. You do it at tyt.com/team, and we love you for it.
So yeah, and then it just this is what happens with me in my life, is you just lean forward and stuff just unfolds in front of you. And I'm graduating this week with my degree in public administration, public policy from American University.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yep. And so this is a, real world history making application of what I've learned in that couple of years. Yeah.
Sure, you did make me jealous real quick. You did make me jealous of the roll call thing, because I'm like, wait a minute, how come I don't get to announce for New Jersey, where I'm from?
I know.
I want that.
People are saying,
no, I'm pissed now.
I think I can work this out. The question is, what would you say? Because it's they want it to be really tight. So I can't say. I don't think I'm allowed to say just yet. But anyhow, for those of you C-SPAN aficionados who are watching the roll call vote, I look forward to entertaining you for about 6 seconds. And it is pretty. I've always watched States of the Union and States of the State and convention and just all the stuff that you guys have been educating the world on for your careers. I've been a news junkie, and I'm not just a political junkie. I like government. I like what I've noticed during this time at American mid-level administrators, mid-level bureaucrats are the ones designing how these programs work. are heroes. They're absolutely brilliant. They spend their entire lives working towards it. And somehow the way we've set our system up, just as they're starting to implement a program or just before, while they're incubating a program, some social issues crap comes along, you elect a whole bunch of new people and they throw it out before it's had a chance to even work. So I know sometimes they protect against that and create, programs that'll, they'll legislate that thing gets 6 years before you can touch it. But basically it's not just that, it's just that, we lionize people who are, they're kind of hit it and quit it, and I feel like people who are, are in public service because they want to serve their community, to make them, to make a difference. The true believer thing is, it just annoys me when I hear political professionals who I worship speak in such cynical ways.
I want to touch on that. I actually really want to touch on that because, just to engage in full disclosure, you live in California, in the LA area. I also live in California, the LA area. And, things have kind of declined significantly in Los Angeles in particular. And as you know,
and jobs and
everything. I mean, yes, like just the quality of life. I mean, it's more expensive than ever. Quality life has taken a significant dip. And we're talking about a state that is fully controlled by the Democratic Party. And so it has made me a bit cynical about the Democratic Party. You say you're a lifelong Democrat. How do you kind of confront some of the flaws or issues within the Democratic Party while still supporting them?
Every day.
Yeah,
That's how.
It's a tough question.
Every day.
Yeah.
No, I mean, my mom moved up to northern Idaho. She got married. My mom, Patty Duke, right?
Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah. So she was very famous. She was president of our union.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that.
Yeah. Powerful woman. She was diagnosed with a bipolar mood condition. She spent the second half of her life advocating for mental health, mental illness, destigmatizing. She was just an incredible figure. But she moved up to North Idaho to Coeur d'Alene and to Hayden, and some of the area right around there is a place there's white supremacist.
Yeah.
And actually one of the farms, just a couple of farms from hers, was where they would actually have the literal white supremacist meetings once a year, their national meetings. And I remember saying, Mom, like, why would you live in a place like this? I mean, it's beautiful. Wheat fields and the pine trees and the clear lakes and the people are lovely. I mean, you wouldn't know your neighbor has those beliefs. And she was, Sean, if people who don't feel that way don't move in, then it never changes. So it would be easy to leave the Democratic Party at any moment when it feels like it's like doesn't get the point. But that's not going to improve its functionality. So,
yeah, no, that's a great point. In fact, as you were making it, I was thinking, Rudy.
Democrats. I mean, the thing is, I just made it up to Sacramento for the first time. I testified in front of the labor, privacy, and consumer protection committees on how AI is impacting the workforce. And I was representing our union, who is being, I was going to say an outsized impact, but I was sitting next to the Department of Transportation person and the nurses, and you were listening to how it's affecting everyone. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is a all hands on deck situation. I'd never been in that capital before. I'd never been in my capital, my state capital. I'd never been in my state capital. Of all the politics I've done my whole life. And so it was like, oh my gosh, I'm in here. I don't know. I think it's great when they make a building out of marble and they light it up at night.
I love marble.
Right? So you can walk in and you can feel inspired, but it shouldn't take that. Right. We should just basically know that, like, when I walk past a homeless person, an unhoused person, you can give money, I don't know what, something happened today that just was like earth shattering when I think about it later. I was talking to a political consultant. It raises tons of money. It helps a lot of different candidates and stuff. And I said, what is it in the human mind that can shut off? We were passing a protester in the street, and the protester had come up with something to say that wasn't particularly clever, but they were clearly suffering pain and, talking about an issue that's real. And so you kind of go like, What is it? What is it that lets you shut off walking past that guy? How does that? What that person's talking about is real.
Right.
And he said it's what's allowed us to survive over time. And I actually think that's probably true. If we were to live in the open space of the suffering that is existing at any point on planet Earth, we couldn't function. So
yeah,
just hopefully we don't dial it back too far the wrong way.
Well, that's something that I'm having a lot of trouble with, especially in California. So you mentioned, the homelessness. I feel that it's become entirely normalized in California. And I feel that, there has been justifications for leaving people out on the streets, allowing them to literally waste away and oftentimes die on the streets. And, you have some elements of even, the Democratic Party, whether you want to call it the far left or libertarian left, whatever, who feel that, if that's what they want to do, they should have the freedom to do it. But a lot of these people have severe addiction issues. A lot of them have severe mental health issues. And it has become normalized. And I can't normalize it. It bothers me so much every single day. Seeing it, I actually befriended a person by the name of Chris, who was homeless. And I remember trying to get him into a shelter or into housing. And he had some mental health issues and he just would reject it. And he didn't make it. He died of an overdose. And I'm angry about it, and I want something to be done. And I feel that in a state that is totally controlled by the Democratic Party, you would assume, well, this is the party that cares about the little guy. This is the party that cares about, the workers and all of that. What is stopping them? There is no legislative filibuster like there is in the Senate that stops the national Democrats from accomplishing policies. But you look at a state like California, there is no excuse.
Okay, so a few things. One is, remember this guy, Gary Haugen, from the International Justice Mission? I haven't thought of that guy's name in forever. He works with trafficking, sex trafficking and exploitation and that sort of stuff. He travels around the world. He and his organization travel around the world doing interventions, helping represent people. And he's this kind of happy warrior guy. And I'm like, how can you stay happy when you're seeing the most awful stuff ever? And basically it's like, because you can't do it all. You can't do it all. I can't do it all. We have to rely on each other to work we actually don't have to do that much as long as we are working in concert with each other. But this problem is not an easy problem to solve. I can't say who it is, but somebody very close in my life lived in their car for 18 years with offers of an apartment, offers of, but it was mental, whatever. Well, I won't say what my impression of it was, but Governor Newsom was just changed his tone about this. Did you see this?
Oh, I did, yeah.
Yeah, it may be Democratic control, but not completely. You still Orange County, you still have the Central Valley, you still have California has a fair, we're not.
There are pockets, yeah.
It's more than pockets. I'm talking about AI in Sacramento. Well, you've got laborers up there. I'm up there with labor, and we're talking about what we need. Well, that town is paid for by tech.
Yes, right.
Yeah. So we say we love, this is incredible. We're at not just an inflection point like Biden talks about, but when I studied history and English in school in undergrad at UCLA, and I used to wonder, what would I do if I was in the gold rush times? Would I have done would I have been a prospector? Would I have been selling pickaxes on the side of the road? What would have been how would I have been? We're in a moment that is radically, it's so easy to say it and we know it, but really internalize it. Human life on planet Earth has changed more in the last 30 years than it has in all of human history before it. This is happening at a very, very quick rate. So I don't want one more person to suffer. I don't want one more person to die in the streets. So we just keep trying. Your show is a great thing. You're informing people. I think, it really pisses me off that a lot of the shows that I live on, my CNN and my MSNBC and even Fox and any of the other shows, NPR, they cover the horse race. Yeah. They are so quick to decide that they know what this building means today. And they know what's happened. Oh, they didn't get Biden in prime time. Who cares? Pardon my French. Who cares? These people in this building have spent decades, many of them, certainly years, invested in trying to understand these issues. And they need to interact with each other. We needed to cheer for Hillary Clinton for 10 minutes and for Joe Biden for 10 minutes. These people, you put your faith in people, they don't always live up to your expectations. We have to have a little grace. We have to have a little, humility, a lot of humility maybe. You can't do it by yourself. The fact that you care that way is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And everyone in this building, and I believe everybody in the other building too in Milwaukee, I think those people care too.
Yeah.
I'm not prepared to throw them under the bus because they, vote for somebody different than me.
Such a good person.
I know it's like
I appreciate
it's like
so much.
ridiculous how good a person you are. It's like and look, we're known for tough interviews and we don't kiss up to anybody, etc. But you're like oozing goodness. It's like it's permeating for me.
That's my brand.
Okay.
Goodness is my brand.
Okay. Anyway, all right. Is it also true that you got Biden to throw the ring into Mount Doom?
I'm trying to extend the metaphor in my mind because, so Samwise Gamgee, at a moment when Frodo couldn't carry the ring any further, had to pick him up and carry him. Ultimately, Gollum cracked him on the head, and the two of them had a fight, and they fell in. So I don't know if Tolkien sort of cheaped out on that one and like didn't commit on who was going to make a decision and who couldn't. But because I've been thinking about this and saying it for the last week, Samwise was a supporting player. He was a supporting. Everybody told me Sam was a real hero. Sam was one of the real heroes of that wonderful piece of literature. But that idea of being the sidekick or being the second in command or being in devotion, Kamala Harris has for 3.5 years been in a secondary position where her talking was not the order of the moment.
Right.
And so I think to make, and it's so easy and it's so chauvinistic and so sexist to look at her and say like, oh, she hasn't done anything. Every time she's sitting in one of those briefings in the Situation Room or something like that, she's there, she's learning. This is a prosecutor, this is a brilliant woman who's being patient. And now it's her moment to step forward. And you can see it. You can start to see it when she's talking to people. You can see when she's getting angry because she doesn't have the tolerance for people's bad behavior. I can't wait for her to take on the world's media in a press conference like everybody's,
Yeah.
The same press who had more than enough time not to screw over the global community by overcovering a guy and not holding him accountable in 2016. Now they're like, oh, we need access, we need access. Like, well, you better earn it. Right now, she's putting together a campaign like fast, a 90-day, 70, 78-day campaign. You'll get your time with her, but don't tear her down on process when you haven't earned it. That's my feeling about that. But anyway, I get excited.
No, it's amazing you said that because just this morning we were talking about how powerful a number 2 is. And I was doing it like an ode to Scottie Pippen and Spock and Doc Holliday and all these amazing, and Samwise Gamgee, right? All these amazing number 2s that are in a lot of ways cooler than the number 1, right? And so
I got so mad watching the Scottie Pippen. Can you see it? You guys can't see it, but there's a Jordan statue right here, and that Scottie Pippen was not treated properly. Anyway, that's not what you're asking me.
So anyway, I just appreciate that you said that because it's true. The number 2s are vastly underrated. And what did you want her to do? She's vice president, has no power, right? And so I think that's an unfair criticism of her, and especially from a media that doesn't hold people accountable in a way that it needs. I mean, like the context of this entire conversation is one of the reasons why Democrats and definitely Republicans don't do what they say is the donor class, right? And the donor class is huge and has gigantic power, and the press never holds them accountable. And then they go into the process and the optics of, hey, did Kamala do enough interviews?
Well, so on my road tour, I went to Grand Rapids and went to a volunteer fair, like a job fair, and talked to this one girl who's my oldest daughter's age. My daughter's 27. And I said, is this enthusiasm, this like euphoria that people are feeling, is it like real? Like how deep does it go, And she just kind of looked at me like, okay, we're gonna have like a real moment. And she goes, well, I talked to my father about this. I talked to my father about this and last night, and he said he's hopeful. Like that.
Oh, wow.
He said,
That's
we haven't
great.
had permission to be hopeful in a long time. So I think the fact that the donor class is not a factor at this moment in the way that it usually is giving people at least for a moment, a kind of a clean look. So Vice President Harris must be accountable. She should be accountable. She should answer questions from the open media. But the shoulds go in the other direction too. And the media better learn how to behave itself, or I'm going to be very upset. And my children are going to be sitting in my house saying, Dad, relax. They're just reporters. Say, okay, I love reporters. I revere reporters. Why don't they behave better?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I just want to say, I think Cenk makes this point often, and I think it's a correct point about how much influence corporate donors have over our politicians. In fact, I think that on some economic policies, the Democratic Party has become a lot closer to the Republican Party on some of these issues. But to your point about labor unions and the impact they have in mitigating the influence of, corporate donations and corporate power, what the Union for the Entertainment Industry did is amazing. I mean, they realized AI is going to be an issue, and we're going to go to the belly of the beast in the state that has the largest tech sector and say, no, we're not going to stand for it. And so I really want to emphasize that point, because I do think that, that's another point of hope. I think a lot of people feel like situations are hopeless, that they have no power. But I think with unions, it's an example of how if you put whatever minor differences you have culturally aside, or whether it's on social issues or whatever, put it aside, but come together as a group of people who are fighting and are hyper-focused on one thing, you can accomplish incredible things, right?
So, story about Sid Sheinberg, who was one of the big moguls in Hollywood, who I think people give credit for helping Reagan go from the presidency of the Screen Actors Guild to governor and beyond. Apparently, I didn't hear it from his mouth directly, but apparently he said, if unions didn't exist, I'd have to invent them. The structure, the legal structure, the philosophical structure, the concept of a union is actually a really useful tool for capitalism. It's actually something that the public should rely on, because it actually is someone you can interact with. I gave the commencement address at UCLA this year in the teeth of the protest movement. And I got a letter from, I guess it was 4811 was the union that represented all the academics, the PhDs and the TAs and stuff. And they went on strike after the encampment was rousted. And 48,000 people. And they said, Sean, please don't cross our picket line. And I was like, they'd have to drag my dead body across the picket line. But they said, could you reach out to the UC system and see if they're not establishing an open line of communication with us. And so, because Lorena Gonzalez, who is the president of the California Federation of Labor, and I know each other now because of the thing, she was able to facilitate a meeting for me with the head of the UC system. And my point to him was, and he was a lovely man, President Drake. My point to him was, you can work with these, first of all, according to their own independent reports, this thing called I know this is boring to you, but it's called the Robinson Edsley report. After there was some violence with police on the UC Davis campus, I believe, I could have that wrong. They generated this independent report. It was 49 recommendations for how to deal with violence with the police in the schools. And 48 of them were communicate. And they had not communicated well with these protesters. I said, well, the union they follow rules. They follow contractual rules. They follow government, criminal rules, whatever. You can actually work with these people. And I could go on that a long way, but basically when people say communism, people say socialism, people look at, unions as like you're gonna cap out, like your billionaires aren't gonna be able to be billionaires anymore. And it's like, no. What you want is a floor of basic standard of living conditions.
Yes.
And the truth is that when the managers or the companies go into agreement with that, they can sleep better at night. Right now, a lot of them are in a position of I think instinct. This is the role we're supposed to play. We're supposed to say no to this instead of okay, let me care about you and understand you're, a human being. So I don't know if you saw, I won't go down that road, but
same mentality of I'm a little bit biased here, but happy wife, happy life. I mean, why can't we expand that ideology to the workplace? Happy employees, happy executives, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we always admire it when when innovators come along and they have a company and they like make them all employee owners and they, they care about their, being able to have time with their kids or have, whatever accommodations they make. And in fact, there's all this research that supports certain kinds of work that would like break the paradigm, the 1950s paradigm, and yet productivity's better, they're happier. Here's one last thing. So, and then I go to the roll call.
Yeah.
In my master's that I'm getting here, the second to last class was on human resources. Basically, they called it human capital resource management. That's referring somehow to human beings,
Right.
But geez, I love American University, and I'm so grateful for my degree. Not teasing you guys. They have research that says it's better to adopt a philosophy or a culture in your workplace that says that people are essentially good and that your workers ultimately want to be productive. Whether it's true or not, if you put that in the policy and you act like it, your productivity goes up, your efficiency goes up or something like that. So,
that's my experience, by the way. I run the company. Yeah. That's my experience. If you assume good intent, you wind up in a much, much better place, more productive, better team, better camaraderie, better results.
The bad actors reveal themselves pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Responsibly, and yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
All right, Sean Astin, who's been in every movie ever made. And
Next time I'm going to play you in the movie when they do.
I look forward to it. Thank you for joining us, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you.